Brittany and I actually started talking was it February? I think it was February we started talking about this because that was when the pandemic was really happening. And we said, oh, you know what? What if we have this conference and we do this seminar for parents? And then we were like, oh, but it may be over by then. By then we may be done and stuff. And then like a month ago, she's like, okay, we'll stay with the same topic. I'm like, sounds good. So I am so excited because Brittany works in our care and counseling center. Um, and she deals specifically with trauma, correct? That's one of your specialties. Yes. So one of her specialties. She has a lot of specialties, actually. As I talk to her, I'm like, oh, that's good. Oh, we may use you for that. So I am super, super excited that she's going to share tonight. She's going to give you a lot of information. There are papers so you can take notes and stuff. And then she's going to walk through each of those. They're a slide that she created. So thank you for being here, Miss Brittany.
I will take this off so you can all see me. And I'm going to pull up my presentation so I know what to tell you. All right, here we go. So, as I was so graciously introduced, my name is Brittany Salling, and I am an associate marriage and family therapist here at First Christian Church over in the Counseling Center. So I work with individuals, families, and couples, and of course, kiddos, which is kind of one of the topics that we're talking about today. So as Bonnie talked about, still parenting in a pandemic, right? When this happened a year and a half ago, I don't think we thought we would still be here. So where do we go kind of from here? Because if we've realized anything at this point, it's we don't really know what to expect anymore, right? We kept thinking, oh, maybe here we'll understand, or maybe there. I've explained it to a lot of people. It kind of feels like you're running a marathon, but the finish line just keeps disappearing, right? And we don't know where it is now. So we're just still continuing on that road. And how do we do this? So I'm hoping to give you guys some tools and some tips to help you from where to go from here. As I kind of introduced already, so my name's Brittany. And not only am I marriage and family therapist, but I am also the mom of 3 kids. So I have 3 kiddos that I have at different stages. So far in the pandemic, I had a baby, I had a preschooler, and I had an elementary age student. So I thought I just had a baby at home and had my preschooler finally in school, right? Because he was just starting. And then I had my elementary age student. And then suddenly I had a baby and I was expected to homeschool preschool. I don't know if any of you experienced that, but whew, that's it's interesting. While also trying to homeschool an elementary age student. So then everyone started trickling back. My preschooler went back first. My older kiddo, who's in elementary school, is in public school. So as I'm sure all of you know, that's been an adventure too. So we've had to be pretty flexible during this time period. So all that to say that not only am I hoping to provide you some tools as a therapist, but I feel you. So let's go from there. So first, I want to talk about trauma, right? When you say the word trauma, a lot of people think of some big, overwhelming, traumatic event. Usually, if you ask someone for a picture, they kind of picture a soldier or just a very, very traumatic event, right? That's called big T trauma. And when we think about trauma, that's what people tend to always think about. There's also something called little t trauma. And what little t trauma is it's a trauma that every single person in this room has experienced. Every human experiences little t trauma, right? We hope not everyone has to experience big T trauma, but little t trauma, it's just completely unavoidable. So I'm sure you've heard, the global pandemic, a global trauma, right? We're not all being completely traumatized by this, but our children, this has inconvenienced them and us in ways that is uncomfortable, that causes them to lose some of that sense of security on what to expect. School has, if you watch old movies or different things, or you talk to kids who maybe didn't have a great home life, which I don't think is anyone here, but a lot of times you'll hear little kids say, oh, but I felt safe at school, or oh, I had this at school. They didn't have that anymore, right? Everyone's home. Emotions are high, especially while mom's trying to work from home and dad's trying to work from home, and you're trying to homeschool 2 kids from home, and you've got the baby, and no one can go anywhere. And that's kind of what we experienced early on. And now here we are of still constantly going through change and trying to figure this all out. So, what has changed and what hasn't, right? As Bonnie mentioned, we met in February, which looked quite a bit different than things look now. But of course, here we still are trying to figure things out, and things don't stay the same, right? I have no idea what the rules are going to be next week because everything's changing. So, most of your kids are probably in school full time now. I think that's pretty much how it is in the whole area. So that's changed, right? We didn't have that for a long time. Most of you probably traveled and visited some people this summer. That's something that changed because that first summer, not a lot of people went anywhere. They couldn't. Hotels were even closed. But what hasn't changed, even though our kids are back at school, they're still wearing masks. They're still using hand sanitizer. But most are probably off the computer, right? They're not sitting here in the living room doing school every day. They're in the classroom with their friends and getting that input. That has changed, right? That's something that has moved in the right direction. So, what does all this change mean, though, right? Everything changed really quickly one way. We're slowly ticking back the other way. And some of you probably have some concerns about your children. Could be social, emotional, behavioral, educational. What I want you to take away from this, though, is that's normal for moms in any circumstance. If none of this ever happened, everyone in here is probably going to have some sort of concern about your child. That's what we do as moms, right? Is there an issue? How do I fix this? Is everything going well, right? That means you're a good mom to constantly be looking out for the betterment of your child and how they're doing developmentally, socially, educationally, all of that. That makes you a good mom. So, irregardless of the pandemic, you would probably still be having some of these feelings, but because of the pandemic, the situation and the feelings that your kids are feeling and the feelings that you are feeling are probably intensified than what they would be under normal circumstances. So, humans, especially children, thrive off of structure. Our kids have spent most of the last year and a half with a constant change and a shifting structure. And most kids do not thrive under constant change. My slides won't change. I might have to grab one. There we go. So, where do we go from here? So, your number one priority through all of this should be connecting with your child right now, right? We have spent much of the last year and a half in survival mode. And I know that doesn't go for everyone, but I know that goes for a lot of families. So, what are we trying to do? We're trying to bring that connection and that structure and that stability back into your kiddos' lives and back into your life, right? That's part of what came with school going back is we can start getting into some of those routines and those schedules and those things that we had before. So, if you're with all this, our kids often look to us, especially the younger they are, the more this is true. But they look to us for how we're responding to different situations because they are, right? They're growing up in our household. They're learning how to grow up from their parents and their demonstrations. So, depending on how parents react to different things, kids usually follow suit, right? That tends, as kids grow older, there tends to be a little bit more of a separation. But if we'll say hypothetically, your son's a little nervous to go back to school for the first time, you're going to have so much fun. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. Oh, I can't wait to hear about all the new friends you're going to make, right? That comes across much differently than, I know, but we're going to go anyways, right? Which one makes you feel better, right? They just want to know that it's going to be okay and they have a secure attachment to you. And so they're seeking that from you. As kids grow up, right, it's natural for some of that separation. So, sorry guys. So, how do we do that, right? We have different ages and stages. So, the most important part is communicating with your child. So, right now, if your child's feeling an emotion, right, they're upset or they're worried or anything because of all this change, right, they don't know what to expect. So let's say we'll go with the situation that I spoke about earlier about your child's really nervous to do something. So, one of my favorite rules to follow when you're trying to have that conversation with your child is the 2-2-2 rule, right? So, you're going to take your child And if you really want to talk to them about something and you really want to make sure you're getting their attention, is you want to be no more than 2 feet away. You want to have 2 feet pointing at them, and you want to get down on their level. Because if you're getting down on that level, you're really able to connect with them, right? If you're standing over someone, picture it as an adult. If I came up to one of you and I stood over you and I just started talking down at you, it's probably going to feel a little intimidating, but that's just naturally what happens because we're taller as adults, right? So if we're really trying to connect with them and get into that emotion with them, it's so important to just get on their level because you're looking eye to eye. And that's going to make anyone, right? If I go up to your chair and I go like this to talk to you instead of like this, right? That's a big difference. You're going to feel very different about that. So you want to name the emotion that your child's feeling or struggling with and validate it, right? I can see that something's really frustrating you, making you sad, making you angry, whatever the emotion that they're feeling. And ask them if they want to talk about it. If your child's really upset, maybe offer, would you like me to sit with you and hug you right now? Right? Because sometimes they don't want to talk. Sometimes they just want to know that you're there and that you're going to hold them. Maybe they came home from school and you can see something's bothering them, but they're not ready to talk about it. What can I do to help you? Do you want mom to sit on the couch with you? Can I make you a snack? Do you want, you're just trying to find something to connect with them when they're little, always on their level. If you take away anything from here, that's one of the things I want you to take away. Now, I don't know what the ages of everyone's kids are in here. So you might have kiddos who are at different ages, right? And as they get older, it changes a little. It's not quite always so easy to just get on their level, get near them, have the conversation, offer snacks, right? As kids get older, they tend to want to separate a little bit. So, how do we connect with our older kiddos? So, once they get up in elementary, that's when they start trying to separate and become more of an individual, right? That's what we want our kids to do. Our goal as parents is to raise adults, right? Really, that's what we're doing. We're trying to raise adults. And by doing that, is some of them, they grow and they get more independent. And that means you're doing a good job if they can do that successfully. But you also want to be able to connect with them and make sure that they know that they have a secure enough attachment to you that they can come back to you. So when they're older, you want to, elementary, we'll talk about older than elementary in a minute, but you want to play, right? Older kids still want to play. Things like Uno or Connect Four or go kick a soccer ball in the backyard, go throw back and forth a baseball, whatever it is that they're into, pick that activity and just go do that activity with them. Set that time aside to make them feel important and like they're, because that's going to give them that time to come and talk to you, right? And at elementary, especially if they're younger, if you bring up the topic while keeping them engaged in play, they're probably going to talk about it. So let's see here. So start the conversation. It seems you've been really frustrated or struggling or whatever you want to use there with school or etc. Is there some way I can help you? Right? Now, here's the key. Your child might be, no, I'm fine. That's fine. Just keep playing. They know that you've approached the topic and they now know that they can come to you and they can talk about it. But let's say they go, oh, yeah, actually, such and such and such has been going on. Now, here's the key here. If they start talking, you stay silent and you truly listen, right? Your goal is to connect with your child. So if that's the goal, I want you to hold on to every word. Like they're saying the most important thing you've ever heard, especially if it's this information about why they're stressed or they're happy or they're angry, or whatever this emotion that we're covering. If they start talking, the most important thing is that you listen, because if you listen, they're going to know once again that it's safe for them to come back and have this conversation with you and that they can talk to you about other things. Staying connected. So now let's go to, let's say, junior high and high school, right? Because that's going to look different than elementary school as well. These kids are older, they're closer to adulthood, they're feeling a lot more independent, and a lot of times high schoolers and junior high, they're going to their friends. They're not always coming to the parents. So that's why it's important here to make sure that they know that they can also come to you. So, usually this looks like going to do something they want to do. Maybe it's going to get an acai bowl. Maybe it's going to, it can still be play like volleyball somewhere or whatever activity, something that they love. Once again, you just want to make sure that they know that they are important to you. And while you're there, you just talk and you listen. If you want to bring something up, you can. You can wait until they bring it up. But the most important part is so that they know that they can come back and connect with you because this year has been hard for everyone, this year and a half. It's been hard for all of the parents, but it's also been hard for the kids because of all of the change going on. And a lot of times, everything has gone so much to technology that, and we've been in the same household together, that what a lot of what's fallen apart has been the communication in families, right? We're always together. We don't need that one-on-one time. I'm always with my whole family. They know they can come to me, right? But carving out that individualized time and talking to them at their stage in life is really going to help open those doors and make sure that they know that they can come to you and talk to you through all these changes that they're experiencing, and that's how you can best support them.